how to create content that finally catches your buying audience's attention. Let me say that again. How to create content that finally catches your buying audience's attention. Look, guys, if you are wanting to grow your passion driven business, you want to grow your coaching business, if you're stuck at 3K per month and you now want to take it to 10, 20K per month, if you are struggling to finally go full time in your passion driven business and you know that now this is your year which you're going to make it happen, then you're going to want to stick around for what I've got for you in this Business Booster live stream, because I'm going to be sharing with you the finance principles, basically, the principles that many people are not talking about, right? In our coaching industry, there seems to be something where we all seem to be focusing on being consistent. That seems to be the word of the day. And as a result, everybody is focusing on pumping as much content as they can out there on their posts, on their stories, via emails, via TikTok, via YouTube, the entire gambit. But the problem that we face is that because everyone's so busy trying to be consistent, they're not actually being effective in their communication. And I say it's time to stop being consistent and instead be purposeful. You might want to write that down, right? Stop being consistent. If you learn anything from this video, stop focusing on being consistent, but instead focus on being purposeful. Now, welcome to another Business Booster live streams. In these Business Booster live streams, I give you everything that you need, all the nitty gritty that you need to be able to either finally go full time in your passion driven business or to be able to scale your business from, let's say, 3K per month to those 10 and 20K per month. And I want you to tell me, where are you tuning in from? Because I know that we have followers in this group from all over the world. So please comment below. Let me know where you are tuning in from. And also let me know where you are in your business. Are you just starting out? Have you established your business? Are you now looking to scale? Comment below and let me know. Now I'm streaming using the tool of StreamYard. And so what I want you to do is around this video somewhere, it will enable you to connect your Facebook or wherever you're watching from to StreamYard so I can actually see who's commenting. Because I like to make this as engaging and as interactive as possible. And so please, if I ask you questions, if you have a thought or an opinion as you're going through this training, then please, please, please comment below and let's keep this very interactive. Because as I said, I'm going to show you what you need to do to take your content to the next level to finally attract your buying audience's attention. Now, I've been very, very specific, okay? I've said your buying audience's attention. Now, what do I mean by that, right? Why am I focusing in on the buying audience's attention? Well, the reason is because another thing that coaches seem to get bombarded with is believing that they have to be communicating and trying to get everybody's attention. Now, when you've got the algorithm fighting against you, the Facebook algorithm, which is squeezing out your organic reach, what you need to recognize as a coach, if you want to build a successful business, is that you're not creating content for everybody in your entire audience. You're creating content for your buying audience. And this is how you can finally get their attention and how you can really take your content to the next level. So not only so that you don't have spectators at best, right? At worst, you just have no one, but rather you will have people who are interested in buying your products and services. So why am I interested in this? Well, I'm interested because until I understood what I'm about to share with you in this video, I struggled to go full time in my passion driven business. You know, I was an engineer, I was in my day job, I was working crazy hours, waking up 4 o'clock in the morning, going to bed at like 9 o'clock, getting up and doing that hamster wheel over and over and over again. And I knew that I had a bigger purpose. I knew that I was destined for something greater. Comment below if you know that you're destined for something greater. If you know you've got a calling on your life and that you need to get this calling out in a bigger way. You need to have more eyes on your offer. You need to have more people knowing about what it is that you do so that you can help to transform more people's lives, right? So I knew I had this calling, but I was so busy trying to be consistent with my social media. I was so busy trying to do, ads, funnels, all the things that we're told to do as coaches, that I missed the most fundamental thing, right? The one thing that I really had control over, and that was how I was communicating with my audience. And therefore, being consistent and pumping content out really does not make sense if you're just pumping out a lot of rubbish. Right, let's speak. If you're just pumping content out for content's sake, or you're writing content for content's sake, it doesn't make any sense. You need to ensure that every piece of content, okay, has its purpose and works for you over and over and over again. Hey, I can see people joining and saying hello to me. Hello to you. Wonderful to see you. And you're going to get some amazing nuggets in this Business Booster live stream as we talk about how we can up your level of communication through your content and finally create content that attracts your buying audience's attention. So I finally understood what it took to communicate. And as a result of that, without having a website, without having any complicated funnels, without having to spend thousands of pounds on ads, I was able to replace my six-figure income that I had within my day job and move into my passion driven coaching business full time. And now I live a life on purpose. I have clients all over the world who I help and I share my principles with. I've got my book coming out, I've got an app coming out, so stay tuned for that. But none of this would have been possible until I understood this fundamental principle I'm about to share, which is how do you communicate at the highest through your content. Now, before we dive into it, okay, I just want to say there is going to be an opportunity for you to have a free impartial conversation with me where we're going to be able to get really stuck into the nitty gritty of what's potentially going wrong in your business, whether that's you're trying to move into your passion driven business full time, or if you're trying to scale your business, let's say from 3K per month to 10 and 20K per month. And if at any time something I say resonates with you and you want to take the opportunity, again, comment, I'm ready below in the chat, and either myself or a member of my team will reach out to you to make that happen. All right, so without further ado, let's dive in. I want to share my screen with you because I like to make this interactive, and all of those of you that are visual, it's really important that you get to learn in the way that really suits you. So I'm sharing my screen right now and you should be able to see it. Just comment below, let me know you can see my screen, let me know that you can hear me, and make sure you've got some form of either a pad or a device to make notes, because this is going to be a juicy one as usual. All right, so how to create content that finally attracts your buying audience's attention. Where are you possibly right now? Perhaps you are struggling to make 5 to 10 high ticket sales every single month. And what do I mean by that? A high ticket sale for me is a sale where you are charging 2K or above for your offer. And usually that offer is what I call a flexible group program. Okay, because when you have a flexible group program, which is a conversation for another session, but I'll share this with you now because I like to share. It gives you the ability not to have a cap on how much you can earn per month. And it really sets up the foundation of your business really, really well. You see, the classic thing that happens to coaches is we often think that we have to start out one-to-one. Everyone thinks the very first logical step is to start coaching one-to-one, but that cannot be further away from the truth. And why do I say that? Well, it's as easy to create a flexible group program, a program you can take one person through or 10 people through at the same time, as it is to work with someone one-on-one. And, when I left my corporate job and I moved into my passion-driven business full-time, this was my opportunity, right? It was my opportunity to create the lifestyle that I wanted. And I would be damned if I was going to create another trap for myself, move out of working a 9-to-5 job and then get stuck just serving clients day in and day out and day in and day out. I love my clients and I serve them to the highest, but also at the same time, you need to have a lifestyle that you desire. And so when you set your business up in the right way, it really gives you the flexibility to be able to do that. All right, maybe you feel like the best kept secret. How frustrating is that, right? You know, you can be transforming people's lives if only people took what you had to offer seriously. You know, you may have the best thing since sliced bread, but if people cannot see the value of it, if they're not taking what you're saying seriously, then you might as well not have it at all, right? You might as well just go to another form or another medium who can actually get it out there. It's a very frustrating thing as a coach when you feel like the best kept secret. Potentially you are struggling creating content and coming up with ideas. I hear this all the time. You know, people spending hours trying to create content, creating content day in and day out, struggling to come up with ideas for their content. Well, what I'm going to share with you is going to literally put that to bed. And possibly you're struggling to keep consistent with your content because you're thinking, what's the point? Like, no one seems to be interested anyway. How sad is that, right? When you know you've got your life's purpose, you know you have a calling, you know you have a desire to help the world, but yet still you've got this voice in the back of your head that's telling you you're not good enough, that's telling you your content's not good enough, okay, making you feel what's the point because people do not seem to be interested. Maybe you are struggling to articulate what makes you unique. Let's face it, let's talk for a second. With the birth of the internet, now more than ever before, you need to be able to articulate exactly what makes you unique. You have to be able to do that. Why? Because the coaching industry is in overdrive. Everybody is turning up and calling themselves coaches because we now have the ability to share content free online. I like to make a clear distinction. Okay, I don't think you can call yourself a coach unless you are transforming your clients' lives. So unless you actually have clients, and I don't think you can say you have a coaching business unless you are actually exchanging money. So just turning up and sharing information on the internet and calling yourself a coach, well, that's a bit farcical to me, right? But it's happening. And as a result, more than ever before, because the industry is so saturated, you best know what makes you unique. And if you don't, you really need to figure that out and figure it out quick. Because if you are saying the same thing as everybody else, this is where your business is falling down. Potentially, you wish you could create content that created ready to buy clients. Could you imagine? Imagine if you create a piece of content and as a result of writing that piece of content, you had 2, 3, or 4 high ticket clients coming to work with you or reaching out to find and engage with your business. Imagine being able to create powerful content in that way. And what's the consequence of not being able to do this? Well, you're either stuck in an unfulfilling day job, which is most likely beginning to affect your mental health. You know, if you're not doing what you love, and think about it, we spend more time working than we do doing anything else. And if you are not feeling fulfilled in that position, it's taking a toll on your mental health. And there's only so long that that can stand, you know, before you end up suffering with things like depression, you know, not wanting to wake up in the morning, before you start getting grouchy and angry with other family members, and you don't even know where it's coming from. Well, it's coming from the fact that you're not fulfilling your purpose. And you can often feel that. And if that's not the case, then it means that you're unable to build a consistent cash flow, which stops you from providing the things that that you know your loved ones deserve and they desire, right? There is nothing more frustrating than having a coaching business that's not bringing in a consistent revenue every month. I actually think, all right, and tell me if you and comment below if you agree with me, okay? I actually think it's better if you know every single month your coaching business was going to consistently bring in, let's say 4K consistently, then if you know 1 month it brought in nothing, the next month it brought in 2K, the next month it brought in 6K, and it was totally up in the air. Because if you don't have, and please comment, let me know if you agree with me on that one, right? Because if you don't have a consistent income stream coming in every single month, you can't depend on your business. How can you build a lifestyle for your family? You know, mortgage, car, clothes, latest gadgets, all of this stuff that you have to provide if you've got a family or share with loved ones. How can you do that if your revenue is not consistent? It's absolutely impossible. And this is what needs to be happening, guys. Because I see a lot of people, you know, they're in the coaching industry, you know, they're getting clients here and there, But until you can stabilize and consistently bring in consistent revenue, whether that's 5, 10, 15K consistently every single month, then you don't have a business that you can depend on. And that's why you often feel fearful, right? Let's talk. Oftentimes coaches are feeling fearful within their businesses because they are not able to have that sense of safety that they need, that all of their needs are going to be met on a consistent basis. And when you are feeling fearful, you do things from a place of lack. And when you are being driven from a place of lack, it means that you are not showing up as your most authentic self. And in this industry, in the game that we are living in, this saturated digital market, if you're not showing up as your authentic self, this is what is hindering and is what literally squeezing the life out of your business, because it means that you're falling into that sea of sameness. Okay, you're just like everybody else. What makes you unique is not coming to the fore. And why? Because you just can't take a moment to breathe. So, where do you want to be? Maybe you want to be confident that every piece of content that you create will do its job and get you clients. That's the purpose of your content. Your content has two purposes. Either, okay, it's to bring you ready to buy clients, or it's to warm those potential clients up. Okay, but if you've just created a piece of content, and it doesn't have that ability, or it's just a piece of content for content's sake, it's not doing its job. It's a waste of time, and you might as well just stop. And this is why you end up stopping indirectly, right? Because it's not doing its job. You can feel that your content's not doing its job, and that's why you struggle to be consistent with your social media, because it's like, as I mentioned before, what's the point? No one seems interested. Maybe you want to be finding that most of your sales are actually being made offline. No need for a sales call. Those of you that struggle with sales calls, that find sales calls pressurizing, what if you could create content that made the sales call so much easier? And I did a training on that in the Business Booster live stream last week. So if you haven't seen that, just comment sales below, because you definitely need to watch how you can actually improve the quality of your sales calls so that most of the selling is done off the call. Maybe you want to be creating content, and the idea or the feeling of it is easy and does not take you hours on hours upon hours. I remember being in that place where I just was so scared that I'm going to run out of ideas, right? And so as a result, I'll be very sparse with my content. Instead of posting every single day, I might post like, twice a week, just because I had this fear that at some point I'm going to run out of content. Over here, you're making steady and consistent sales every single week and consistently hitting those 10 and 20K months. Imagine this, guys, right? Envisage you now having a business you and your loved ones can depend on. People are now starting to take you and what you have to offer seriously. And as a result, you are no longer having to be careful with money. Being careful with money is one of the most, it's a horrible feeling. Yeah, because you're always having to second guess. You're never out there to go and able to get the best that you want. You're always having to, like, pinch every now and again. Doesn't mean that you're broke, right? It just means that you've got that thought in the back of your mind. Maybe money causes arguments within the home because there's not enough, or you want to expand, but not enough money is coming in. And ultimately, when you get this right, you'll finally be able to give back and do some good in the world, because now your needs are met. I hear so many people when I speak to them, they say to me, I want to give to charity, or I'm supporting this cause and I'm supporting that cause, or I'm doing this for charity. And it's amazing, right? But then what happens is that, you speak to them the week or the month after, and they actually gave up, or they didn't fulfill that. And why? Because you can't help, charities and all of these kind of things until your own needs are met. You have to be able to cater for your own needs, and that frees you up to go out there and do the good that you want to do in the world. All right, so disclaimer. You have to make a distinction between what's your fault and what's down to the algorithm. especially on Facebook. Some of you understand this, but I'm going to just do a quick recap. The algorithm is the rules that Facebook set for, in the case of content, who can see your content and when they can see it. And Facebook's algorithm is designed to favor people who spend money on ads. Facebook is a business. Facebook wants to make money from advertising because it's a free platform. And so, what they've done to ensure that they can do this is they have strangled your organic reach. Think about it. Let's say you've got a Facebook group. I know you've got 500,000 people inside your Facebook group. Okay, every single person inside that Facebook have categorically said, especially if it's a private Facebook group, they have said that they want to be a member of your Facebook group and they want to see your content. They have said that. Think about how many friends you have. All of the people that have become your friends, they have said, I want to see, in my case, Jor'EL's content. So when I put out a piece of content, why does Facebook not show it to all the people that have actually asked to see my content because they're either my friend or they're part of my Facebook group? It's because the algorithm is there to squeeze your organic reach. And this is why I always say, don't beat yourself up if you're not getting the best engagement on your post, okay? Don't beat yourself up if you're not getting the numbers or the attraction that you think you should be getting, okay? But you definitely need to beat yourself up if, when someone does actually see your post and when they read that post, if it doesn't do what it's meant to do, which is like handle their beliefs, give them clarity. And I'm going to go into this in more depth, but give them clarity about what it is that you do, how it is that you do it, and what makes you unique. If your content isn't doing that while shifting their beliefs, then that's your fault. That's got nothing to do with the Facebook algorithm. I'm just being totally honest because that's who I am. I don't hold back. I share everything that I can in every single Business Booster live stream. Why? Because I care. I care about your results. And as a result, it makes no sense me holding back or sugaring the pill or beating around the bush because it doesn't help you, right? Let me know if you think that I share or I over deliver, if you like how much I deliver on these Business Booster live streams. All right, so if this is not your reality, right? So if you're not, making regular, consistent income every single month, if you haven't got content that's working for you, right? If you haven't got all the things that I just listed out, then it usually means that you have failed to master your brand voice. I'll say that again. You have failed to master your brand voice. Now, what do I mean by brand voice? Your brand voice is essentially the sum total of all your forms of communication. Now, let me make it clear. I am not interested, and you shouldn't be either, in terms of how many emails you got going out, the quantities. Not about quantity here, it's about quality. So it's not how many posts you're posting every single day or, every single week. It's not about how many emails that you do. It's not about how many lives that you do per day. What the focus needs to be is on the quality of those, right? So your emails, your posts, your stories, they're all tools. And everybody across the world, let's say, who uses social media has access to those tools. So why do some people who have the same access to the same tools do really well? And why do others, same tools, same access to them, do really, really badly in the coaching industry? It's because it's how you use those tools. And if you using those tools, the way you communicate through those tools is not effective, as I said, not changing people's beliefs, not giving them all the information they need to make a buying decision, well, this is the reason why quantity doesn't make any sense. I would rather you have one piece of killer content which done everything that it needs to do. So when someone actually read that post or bumped into that post, they were more likely to move towards you as a client than being consistent. That horrible buzzword. I'm ready. I'm going to burn it, right? And that's saying something coming from a branding strategist. It's got nothing to do with just being consistent. As I said, it's not about being consistent, it's about being purposeful. And what's the result? It means you are putting in all this blood, sweat, and tears, and it's all going in vain. Why? Because you're being busy for busy's sake. Too many coaches are being busy for busy's sake, feeling satisfied because they put a post out 5 days a week, right? If your posts are not doing what they're meant to do, as I've said, that is pointless. So what I'm going to share with you now is I'm going to really help you to identify how you can begin to master your brand voice. Okay, and this is my system that I'm sharing with you on the screen right now. There's 5 steps to my system, which I teach over a 16-week period. And the strategies I'm going to share with you sit underneath what I refer to as the brand element of this. But obviously, you've got the brand, the revenue, the automate, the navigate, and the dominate. All right. But I would just want you to be clear where we are in this process in regards to what I teach and share with my clients. All right. So let's think about this. Not only is your brand voice the things that you say, okay, and how you communicate, but it's also the content, okay, the specific pieces of content that you share, okay. And now I really want you to get into your own center, okay, really connect with your center. I want you to really go back to you and how you make a buying decision. It's so important that you're understanding what I call the buyer's psychology. But not only that, I take it one step further. It's important that you treat your clients as you would like to be treated. I'm sure, and let me know, those of you that are on this call right now, have any of you brought a coaching program? Have you brought into a coaching program? Have you had to make any kind of buying decision? I mean, the answer should be yes. Like, have you had to buy a car? Have you had to buy a house? Have you had to buy something where you've had to put a sizable chunk of money down? Right. I want you to go back to one of those moments, just close your eyes and connect. And I want you to really think, what did you need as a buyer to make you feel comfortable with that buying decision? Let's have a little look at that now. You needed to know the price. Did you not need to know the price before you could make the buying decision? Right? And did you not need to know the price up front? Right? So you could look at your finances, you could work things out and understand whether or not it was affordable. Okay, so question. Why do coaches always keep their prices from their clients until they're coming onto the sales call? Why do we do that? Maybe you're guilty of that. And if you are, stop it. Share your price up front. It's no point waiting to the sales call and then giving the price on the sales call and then being shocked that your potential client has price shock. Because if you were in that same position, you would have price shock too, especially if it was the first time that you heard that price. And that's usually one of the biggest reasons why people say no. Because what you need to do when it comes to figuring out the price and whether or not you can afford something. You want to speak to your partner, your spouse. You want to check it out with a few people. And if you're not given that, then it feels like you're being forced into a position. You want to know how it works. You want to know that the person, if it's a coaching scenario, that the person is a genuine person. You want to feel that person's energy, right? You also want to know what makes this potential product unique and better than another product out there. Yeah, you want to compare it. Why should I go for this one over this one? Why do you go for an Audi over a BMW or an Audi over a Skoda? Like, you want to know, and when you think about those cars, when I talk about, like, the Audi compared to the Skoda, instantly there's an image that's projected into your mind. With the Audi, you think about quality because they're very clear about their brand's voice and the images that they associate with the brand. It's the same, it's a car, right? It's got 4 wheels, it will get you from A to B. But there is a clear distinction between what makes an Audi more desirable over a Skoda in most cases. I know some people, there's always an exception to the rule, but in most cases, most people want an Audi over a Skoda. Like, let me know, am I correct? Would you prefer an Audi over a Skoda? You want some time to think, right? you obviously want some time to think when it comes to making a buying decision. You know, being forced into a buying decision there and then, if you've not had time to think, it just feels awkward. It feels like you're being conned. It just feels unnatural, right? You want to ask questions. You know, the information may be there, but you may have something that pops up that you just want to kind of run by that person before you make the buying decision. Sometimes you want to try before you buy. You want to experience, what it's like in a coaching session. Like some of you on this call, you will recognize that in a session with me, when it comes to coaching, I'm not going to be that person that's going to just, say, like, be like mama called you. I'm going to tell you what needs to be done, what's going wrong in your business, and give you solutions to your problems, because that's what you need. And sometimes that comes in the form of tough love, right? But if I'm not willing to step into that position as your coach, then you're never going to hear it. What you will actually see is you just don't make any sales. Maybe you want to know you are not the first, right? Who else has gone before you? Maybe you want to speak to your other half and have a conversation about, bring them on board with it. Another tip, find out before the sales call whether or not the other half needs to be on the sales call to make the decision. And if they do, then set the sales call up with both of them on there, because you'll be better to articulate what it is that you do than to leave the other person to have to go and try and articulate it to their partner or spouse. All right? And now we're connecting with your core. Remember, why did you need to know all of this information? What is the science behind it? Well, for your potential clients and for yourself, this leads to a state of inner safety. Everything we do is dependent on the state that we are in. If you're feeling sad, if you're feeling down, you don't want to bounce out of bed. When it's gray outside, and it puts you in that kind of dreary state, you just want to stay wrapped up in your blanket. But I know for myself, when the sun is beaming and it's literally hot at 6 or 7 a.m. in the morning, I'm ready to bounce out of bed because the sun has put me into a different state. Okay. Now, when you withhold this precious information that I've just shared with you, you put your client into a state of fear. And if they are in a fear state, do you know what is synonymous with fear? The word no. Also, what's synonymous with fear is I need to think about it. Also, what's synonymous with the word no is I need to talk to my spouse. So if you're getting these things on your sales call, for example, or while people are reading your posts, they're not coming towards you, it's because this information is not being communicated through your brand's voice. And most of this needs to be communicated through your posts. Don't wait till someone gets onto the call before you start having these discussions. Industry fact. Your potential client or anyone needs between 8 to 12 touch points with your business, any business, before they are ready to buy. But the key distinction here is you have to ensure that every single touch point counts. And that's by creating content in a way that really gets your potential client to move towards you, because you are shifting beliefs, you are informing them with all the information they need in order to make a buying decision. All right, so the question is, now we know this, how do you go about developing your brand's voice? First and foremost, you must have a signature process. If you think about a couple of slides back, I showed you my signature process in the form of a brain, right? That's my signature process. You must have a signature process. And if you don't know how to create one, I have done a training on that. Put signature process below and I'll get that training to you. All right. What do I mean by signature process, or why do you need a signature process, more to the point? Because you need to know what you stand for and what makes you different as a brand within whatever space you're in. if you're in the relationship space and there's other brands out there that are bigger, that have more money, that are pumping into ads, you still need to know what is your signature. What is it and how is it that you create a result that's different to everybody else? And if you don't have a signature process and you're kind of just sharing the information that you have inside your head, well, then is there any wonder how you can create a brand voice around nothing? Because that's essentially what it is. If you don't have a signature process, you can't really create a brand voice. Because of my signature process, I've been able to write my book because I've used my unique way of how I do something. Now I've been able to create a body. It's what I call a body of work. So crucial. When you do this, if you're struggling to charge high ticket, when you create your signature process, that goes out the window because you look at it and you think, damn, I have something that can really make a difference inside people's lives. And this is how I go about doing it. You have to understand your values. What do you believe in? What do you value? And you also need to recognize when something in the industry is going against what you value. For example, the industry always talking about being consistent, be consistent, be consistent when it comes to posting. But that goes against, because for me, it's all about the quality rather than the quantity. If you can hit and mix quality and quantity, well, hey, you're into a winning formula. But I'd rather you focus on the quality than the quantity, as I mentioned earlier. So what is it within the industry that goes against what you believe in? Because that gives you a unique point of view, which you can now discredit what everybody else is saying in the industry. And you can now use your point of view, okay, as the new foundation, the new normal, as it were. Do not, I say it again, do not use the common cliches. And this has to be genuine, however. You're not just making these things up. But if you really dig into your process, you'll find that you did things slightly differently to what everybody else said to do. You found your own kind of knack or way with it. But the cliches in my industry, everyone build a funnel, that concept, that funnel hacking thing, it's a cliche. You need to have a website. Another cliche, hopefully that one's gone, but I still find people are like really dependent on having a website and will justify why they have a website. But the fact of the matter is, I just need to share this just in case any of you've got websites at the moment. Your website is something that will be a wonderful positioning tool for you, and is definitely something that you need later on, but you don't need to wait 6 months, 7 months, a year while a developer's building you this all bells and whistles website to actually go out there and actually create a business. And I was able to create a 6-figure business without needing a website. What are you tired of hearing? What do you hear in your industry which gets on your nerves? I've mentioned mine in this several times, and that should really plant a seed, the whole inconsistency thing. When people talk about building a brand, they talk about being consistent, right? I'm tired of hearing it because I think it sets people up to fail. Talk about the quality and then say once it's quality, then you can then spread it out as much as you can. You have to be confident to point out what is wrong in your industry. Have you even thought about what's wrong in your industry? Like, have you actually just taken the time to think about what is it that's going on in my industry that's just wrong at the moment? Because when you figure those things out, it creates content, like beautiful pieces of content, okay, which really gets your voice to stand out against the grain. What the big gurus are saying, if you can find something wrong with that, or it's something, and when I say find something wrong, it hasn't worked in your experience, and you can articulate that, I bet your bottom dollar, you're not the only one that it hasn't worked for, right? And so as a result, people are going to be attracted to that message because you're not just saying the same thing. Talk openly about the things that did not work for you, and also explain why they did not work for you, and then attach that to the specific solution that you now teach. Another way to really define your brand's voice. Be challenging. We are so scared of offending people, right? We so want to be liked by everyone. I mean, Maslow said it's one of the hierarchy of needs, right? You know, the need to belong, right? And because we want to belong, we're kind of tiptoeing on eggshells and not saying what just needs to be said. But I don't know about you, you know, if I'm in a conversation with a friend of mine and I'm explaining a problem that I have, I would rather my friend just tell me it as it is, as opposed to sugarcoating the pill and beating around the bush. Let me know if you're the same, right? Comment below. Let me know if you're the kind of person that just likes to know how it is. And if that's the case, then you need to pay the same level of courtesy to your potential clients. And the best way to do that is bring it out through your brand's voice. Understand your client's objections and be open to handle them. What do I mean by an objection? Something that your client is thinking that would stop them from working with you. There's tons of them. If you just take the moment to sit and think, there are tons of reasons why someone would turn around. You should, if you've been doing things right and been having conversations with people and building a business based on relationship, you should know what your potential clients have said to you at times where you thought that they were interested in what you've got to say. And you see, oftentimes what happens is we almost like blank that experience out because it's not a positive one. You know, it's someone rejecting us or saying no to our potential offer. But actually, for me, and what I want to gift you is the ability to see the lesson or see the wisdom or the nugget within that situation. It gives you an opportunity to understand one of the objections that a potential client has, because if they've got it, I bet you that lots of other clients have it too. It's just that they haven't been bold enough to say it. And it gives you an opportunity through your brand's voice to create a piece of content to handle that objection. And actually, what you want to be doing is you want to be kind of sharing information while handling objections at the same time. And that's when you begin to really create a piece of belief changing content that works for you as an asset. As cyber celebs, what I call my clients, we don't work hard. We're not constantly doing things. We like to build assets, pieces of content. This is what I mean by an asset, a piece of content that we know can work for us. And the way that you use it is if you create good piece of content, it means if you meet someone and you are serving them because you know you're sharing some value with them, you can give them a piece of content that they can read and you will know that it's giving them the information that they need to make an informed decision. Remember what I talked about, creating that sense of inner safety. Speak to the skepticism. All right, speak to the things that your client's thinking but they may not have the guts to say. You know, if you know there's an elephant in the room, speak about the elephant in the room. Don't try and hide it because you think it's going to, like, you know, deposition you. Actually, no, if you've got skeletons in the closet, bring those skeletons out and speak to those skeletons and use them as examples because this is what gives you the competitive edge. Ultimately, you have to be seen as doing something different, and I say this in the genuine sense. You know, don't just go out to be different for different sake. It takes a bit of soul searching. It's about going deep within and understanding what makes you different. But you have to be seen as doing something different and going against the grain, because if you are saying the same thing that everybody else is saying, well, guess what? Your clients have heard it all before, and there's no need for them to come and read your content. There's no need for them to move towards you, because if they've heard it all before, then the presumption is you're doing the same as the potential coach that they worked with before. And if you're doing the same as the potential coach that they worked with before and they didn't get a result, why would they leave that coach who's doing that thing and come to you if they perceive you're doing the same thing and expect to get a different result? They won't, right? What they'll do is they'll look somewhere else where what someone is saying feels different and resonates with where they're at that present moment in time. I want to talk to you now about the 4 archetypes, because again, when I read posts, or let's say I'm reviewing someone's page, I often see that their posts kind of like just fall into like one particular category. There's some people are really, really sympathetic. Some people are just like calling people out. Like there's not real variety within the content. And we as human beings, we have emotions. Sometimes we're excited, right? Sometimes we're angry. Sometimes we are frustrated. We have these different emotions. And just like you have these emotions, your potential client has these emotions too. And so if you're not kind of using your brand's voice to to articulate these different types of emotions, then you kind of just get flatlined. It just everything just seems samey. And again, in a saturated digital market, everything feeling samey effectively means you fade into the background. So there's an archetype of what's called the sage. Okay, and they are kind of like the wise one. Okay, this is where through your brand's voice, you're kind of like expressing elements of your wisdom. Okay, and you're supporting people with your wisdom. Okay, then the next thing is someone that's like the warrior. Now, the warrior, this person is the one that is like calling it out, saying it as it is, right? Not holding back, being totally honest, and even if that means it's a bit brutal. Okay, because this is the warrior energy. We all have the energy within us. Connect with yourself. If someone says something that you don't like and you are driven through a sense or an emotion of passion, you will find that inner warrior within you. And sometimes you need to, if there's something that's really bugging you about your industry, call it out. And that's when your warrior energy and your passion will come through. Then there's like the lover, right? This person is someone that is, when you are supportive, or you're sharing an experience, maybe you're sharing your story, and through that there's that kind of that empathy and love that kind of comes through in the voice. And then there's the jester, which is just having a bit of fun. It doesn't have to be serious all the time, guys, right? It can actually be fun. You can have fun with it. In fact, I like to have fun, and that's sharing the witty side of you. How can you get that to come through inside your posts as well? But I share these archetypes because I want you to recognize that through your brand's voice, you want to be communicating on different levels, different wavelengths. Don't just get stuck in being like the nice coach. If you're stuck as being the nice coach, well, there's lots of other nice coaches out there. It doesn't really stand for anything. I think nice is one of them. It's like a horrible word. It's just nice. It's like meh. You want to be known and stand and have passion for something, right? All right, so now how do you gauge whether you are standing for something? Because it's all well and good me having shared this with you, but now I want to give you the barometer. Like when you've written a piece of content, like I get really passionate when I write my content. And just to let you know, I write one piece of content a week. Yeah, and it takes me about 2 hours to create my all the content I post in a week. I write one piece of content. And that's because I go for the quality over the quantity. And then once I've got that beautiful piece of quality content, I then take different bits of it and repurpose it. Everything I do is about repurposing. Because another pressure, and I just want to share this because I love to share, I love to give, I want to give you everything, because I want to give you the essence of what it means to be a coach, right? To really understand, not just to listen to what people are saying. What we tend to do is we tend to put lots of pressure on ourselves to have to come up with different ideas every time we put pen to paper. But let's think about the biggest brands out there. Let's think about brands like Apple. Let's think about brands like McDonald's. When you're watching that 3-second or 5-second ad in between a program, does every single ad you see, is it a different ad? Or do they run with an ad for a season, so like for a couple of months, and then they change the ad? Right, they run with it for a couple of months, and then they change the ad. So why do we think with our limited budget, right? Our limited time, because those companies, massive conglomerates with like a person to do every single task. Why do we feel with our limited time, our limited resources, that we have to be creating new content over and over and over again? Especially as, right, not everyone's seen that piece of content that you created. What you have to recognize, and this may be something you want to write down, right? Content is as new as the first time a person sees it. So even if a piece of content was written 10 years ago, if you give it to someone who hasn't seen that piece of content before, for them, it's a new piece of content. All right, so how do you gauge? Well, the very first thing that you want to do is you want to look to see whether your content has touched on something that's potentially going on or going wrong in the industry. And I'm showing you how to gauge a belief changing piece of content. I want to be very specific. Those are the content that I call assets, because these content has the ability to help inform your potential client, and it helps to handle any objections they may have so that they feel safe to move towards you, right? So you need to know and look and see whether it's touched on an issue in your industry. Okay, something that you've seen that you just don't agree with. And the next thing you want to do is you want to take that down, right? So you want to actually, it's almost like you attack that potential thing inside the industry. Like, one of the things I've been taking down throughout this whole live is that concept of being consistent, right? I've talked about it. It's rife in the industry, and I have taken it down because I have gone for it via the jugular and really told you what I think about it, right? Then you give the truth, your experience of the truth. Okay, your experience that counteracts what is going rife in your industry. So you give your truth. I've given you my truth. What did I say? I said it's not about consistency. It's about being purposeful. That's my truth, right? And now through this entire piece of content that we've been building together, I have evidenced that and shown you why I believe that. And then finally, you want to give your test case. Okay, so you want to kind of share, an example, why it worked for you. I shared my test case. I told you, look, until I started to do this stuff in the beginning, right at the beginning of the live, if you haven't seen that because you joined late, make sure you watch the beginning. But I shared with you that when I actually started communicating in this way, only then was I able to come out and actually go into my business full time. And was I able to replace my six-figure salary that I was earning in my day job through the medium of coaching? All right. So that is the 4 key ways, okay, that you need to gauge whether or not you have what I call an asset and a belief changing piece of content. Okay. So, guys, I've thoroughly enjoyed this Business Booster live stream. Please let me know, how have you enjoyed it? Did you enjoy the content of it? Whether or not you found it useful. Has it given you a different perspective? Like, comment, let me know, because it always gives me fuel and the desire to create even more content. And what I want to do right now is just offer up the opportunity, as I mentioned in the beginning, the opportunity for you to have an impartial conversation with me. If you know that you've got something that you want to change in the world, you've got a calling, you're in your coaching business, and you're either struggling to go full time, or you're making like 3K per month, 4K per month, but you now want to hit 10 and 20K months, and you're just stuck for what's going wrong. Why can't you do it consistently? Then usually what happens is that you're too close to the problem. When you're too close to a problem, you can't see what's happening around it. And on this call, what I want to do is I want to be your independent pair of eyes. I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to find out where you are, and I'm going to give you some real, truthful, open, honest information about what's going wrong with you and your business. And if you know that you need this right now, 2022's just started. If you know that you've been trying to get your business off the ground last year, the year before, and it's not worked, then maybe it's time to do what Einstein said. And instead of thinking that you're going to do the same thing and get a different result, maybe it's time to try something different. And if you would like to do that, just comment strategy call below. Just put the comment strategy call below, and either myself or a member of my team will reach out with you and we'll have that conversation. If you felt my energy and you can see that I don't hold back and I'm going to tell you how it is, then you know that this is definitely the right time to come and have that conversation with me. And let's just get your business moving in the direction that you want it for 2022. I have loved you being on the call. I can see so many of you have commented. Thank you very much. I've loved being on the call with you. I've loved serving you to the highest. And next week, stay tuned because I'm going to have some more juicy content for you. But until then, guys, please stay safe. And don't forget, if you want to connect with me and you want to have that strategy call, just comment strategy call below. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.